Bend over to your right.
What the was that?
What's up, Bears fans?
People want to hear me talk.
What's going on, Bears fans? And welcome to a bonus episode for this Week 3 matchup between the Bears and Cowboys. If you haven't already, you have to go check out my in-depth preview with Joe Hoyt, who covers the Cowboys for the Dallas Morning News. Everything you're going to want to know for this matchup is in that preview video. So after this quick, condensed bonus episode, go check that one out. A lot more detail, and it just gives you great insight on the Cowboys. And of course, this bonus episode is brought to you by Windy City Sports Cards. You can check them out at 312-WindyCitySportsCards.com. All your favorite Chicago merch. You're going to want to go to Windy City Sports Cards. And of course, Triumph Drinks. If you just want to start your day off right, start it off with Triumph. And you can actually get a bonus discount code when you use, well, my code NICK, N-I-C-K, and then you'll see how much you save. It has to do with Matt Eberflus's winning percentage as the Bears head coach. There we go. Got those out of the way. So now let's talk about 3 things that concern me with this Bears-Cowboys matchup. And that's why, I needed to do this video, because I didn't really address this in the preview episode. But let's start here and go a little bit more in depth with the Bears' offensive line, but specifically Braxton Jones and the left tackle position. Did not have a great showing, you guys. When you more and more as clips and tape comes out of the All-22 from Braxton Jones, it's a game that you want to forget about. It's a game that you don't want to have associated with your name, to be completely honest. And Aiden Hutchinson was able to win in a multitude of ways against Braxton Jones, giving up 2 sacks, 7 total pressures. And so it concerns me going into this matchup, not so much because of the Cowboys, but it just really has to do with Braxton Jones. After a performance like that, how do you bounce back against a defense in the Dallas Cowboys? As I look over to my screen here, they only have 3 sacks on the season, you guys. And actually, their best pass rusher in terms of total pressures, actually he's tied. Kenny Clark with 6, and then you have Sam Williams, also has 6. So this is a team that hasn't gotten after the quarterback, so to speak, thus far with Matt Eberflus's defense. But I'm still concerned with Braxton Jones and his overall play. And so when I think about this Week 3 matchup, there were a lot of plays that I think weren't able to develop downfield because you had pressure, because Caleb Williams had pressure in his face and had to do his job of avoiding pressure to even have a chance at some of these plays. And so I'm concerned that if there's a game where the Cowboys defensive line actually takes off, it's now. It's at Soldier Field on Sunday with Braxton Jones coming off the performance that he did. So it does concern me, you guys. But you just can't allow a defensive line that's still trying to figure things out without Micah Parsons, obviously, figure it out on Sunday against the Chicago Bears. And when I mentioned Kenny Clark, obviously going to work from the interior. So Jonah Jackson has had an up and down start to his season through the first 2 games. You just want to make sure communication is on point. And that's going to be huge in this one. What the Bears can't do is have those self-inflicted penalties. Put themselves behind the chains so that you're putting yourself in more obvious passing situations to allow that Cowboys defense to, again, unleash the pass rush. And the Dallas Cowboys, just for people that, are curious, what is their pass rush rate? What are they doing in terms of the blitz? They're not a high blitz team. Looking at the Cowboys, this is with Next Gen Stats and also with True Media. You're looking at a Cowboys team that blitz rate, 16.7%. That's 26th in the NFL. So it's not like they bring it a lot. And their sack rate, 5.1%. That's 20th. Pressure to sack rate, 17.4%. That's also 20th. So again, you see the struggle that this team has had. But it is a Bears offensive line that's given up pressure. And Braxton Jones specifically is somebody that I'm going to be looking out for. Number 2 for me, and I probably could have switched these, is the Bears' ability to affect the passer. Their pressure rate. how they're going to get to the quarterback. Right now, you guys, looking at the Bears, those same stats, those same metrics, might as well reel them off here for the Bears. Sack rate for the Bears, 5.5%, 18th. Blitz rate, which I think is really interesting with Dennis Allen, 10.9%, 31st. The Bears have 3 sacks on the season, all coming in that game against J.J. McCarthy and the Minnesota Vikings in week 1. And then you didn't get to the quarterback at all against Jared Goff and the Detroit Lions. And you are going up against Dak Prescott, who's been playing some really good football. Ben Johnson described him as having full command, someone that is able to use cadence to, one, just command the football field. And just hearing from players this week, Grady Jarrett's had a Zoom press conference early in the week. He said that the pass rush is fixable. And then when I spoke to Kevin Byard in the locker room, I asked him that same exact thing. Is it fixable? He said 100%. There's something along those lines. So that's what they're saying. We need to see it, though, right? We need to see the pass rush become effective. I don't know if that's using more pressure. Like I said, only 10.9% blitz rate, 31st in the league. Maybe we see more of that. Maybe we just see more guys winning their matchups. And I think that was another thing that Grady Jarrett said. There were times where they were about to have pressure and were about to affect the quarterback, but it was after Jared Goff had thrown the football. So it just needs to happen quicker, especially in this game with a guy like Dak Prescott and that offense and CeeDee Lamb going up against a Bears secondary that's not going to have Jalen Johnson, not going to most likely have Kyler Gordon. And you saw the game that Tyreek Stevenson had. The pressure is going to be so important in this one if you truly want to win this football game. So it's individual that need to be better. Montez Sweat, Dio Dingbo, Grady Jarrett, Gervon Dexter, whoever comes in that second wave as well. This Bears defense needs to affect the quarterback. If not, I really don't see a way that they win this football game if they don't have any impact. Because I do feel like it's going to be high scoring. And so if that's going to be the case, you need to be able to get Dak Prescott off his mark. Have him rush some plays. Try to create some turnovers. But it all starts at pass rush. The Bears can't do that. They're not really going to have a chance in this one. Then the last thing here is just the idea of starting 0-3. And now I have some stats here from NFL.com as I read my screen down here. Since 1990, only 35 of 288 0-2 clubs, 12.2%, have made the postseason. Not a great statistic for the Bears to be in if you're dreaming about playoff football. The writer here, and I want to give him credit for NFL.com, Kevin Patra. On the shiny side, he writes, last season, 3 of 9 0-2 teams turned things around to make the playoffs. The Ravens, Rams, and Broncos. Here's a caveat, though. All 3 of those clubs won their week 3 matchup. Again, there's so much importance here because going 0-3, and here it is, can spell the end of optimism, as written here in the NFL.com article. Of the 165 clubs to start with a trio of defeats since 1990, only 4 have made the playoffs. 4 of them. So, one thing, okay, here's one thing. 0-3 to make the playoffs, or going 0-3, if you're thinking about postseason play, it's not something that's happened in the history of the NFL. But I'm also looking at this standpoint, guys. Starting 0-3, what does that do to this football team? In terms of the buy-in, commitment. Because why I say that. Oh, it's so early on in the season. But why I say that is this. Because if this football team, if it starts 0-3, is anything like we've seen when it faces obstacles in the first 2 games, it's not going to be well. It's not going to do well. And think of the fourth quarter against the Minnesota Vikings, right? Where you're not able to, one, sustain drives or stop in opposing offense. They just couldn't. Think about Detroit at the end of the first half, giving up that touchdown, then going in the second half, and then you're blown out. What does 0-3 do to a football team? In Ben Johnson, then you go to Vegas, and then you have a stretch that, is going to involve some really tough teams after the bye with the Commanders. You'll have the Baltimore Ravens, like teams that are the heavy hitters. You got to find a way with the Cowboys that are 1-1 in the season to avoid going 0-3, 0-2 start at Soldier Field. And here's the other thing. I know the players don't care about this. You can't lose to Matt Eberflus and his defense, right? You can't have him shut down Caleb Williams and Ben Johnson at Soldier Field. It would just be a bad look, a bad look, bad vibes going into the rest of this 2025 NFL season. But those are three concerns I have. I mentioned all those things, but if you go back and watch the preview episode, at the end, I do have the Bears winning 31-28. But those are three major areas of concern going into this football game and what the aftermath could be afterwards if you don't come out with a victory at Soldier Field. But that's it, you guys. That's this bonus episode. Just three things I'm thinking about as, we're getting closer to this week 3 matchup, Bears-Cowboys. Hope you enjoyed it. Let me know in the comments what are some concerns that you're thinking about, or if you just have full confidence that the Bears will find a way to pull out a victory, not lose to Matt Eberflus, and be at least 1-2 on the season going into week 4. But I appreciate you guys for watching, listening. Make sure to like, subscribe to Nicholas Moriano Show. Check out Windy City Sports Cards, Triumph Drinks. Great sponsors there. But guys, I will see you most likely next time at Soldier Field after the game. Doing my thing with Scott Bear at the Marquee Sports Network, writing some articles there for Marquee Sports. But we'll see what ends up happening. Bears Cowboys week 3 of the 2025 NFL season. See ya.
Bend over to your right. What the was that?
What's up, Bears fans?
People want to hear me talk.